So I asked, you answered, and here we are. This is a segment about pollen. You know, the stuff giving your car that nice new paint job, invading your nose, eyes, and throat, creating nasty little yellow rivers down our streets when the rain finally comes. North Carolina, you're not surprised by this, are you, has tons of pollen. Just this week, we hit this brand new huge record, a pollen count over 5,000, crushing the previous record set in 2010. A while back, I asked for your pollen allergy remedies, and I got some really interesting responses. How about this one from Andrew? He said, Dan, chug a beer. I found Coors Light works best. After the beer, have a cigarette, one that's organic and North Carolina grown. After this, you'll have all-day relief. Andrew, this feels like something that might be a you thing, or maybe a DIY for initiation to a modern-day frat house. Not really a treatment for seasonal allergies, but to each their own. Michelle suggested some essential oils. She wrote, eucalyptus and peppermint have been particularly helpful. It is true, both can ease inflammation, except they can also increase the chance of an allergic reaction if not used properly. Make sure to read the labels. Jane went a bit high-tech on me, writing, here's some wellness info that may help you with allergies. Then she sent me some YouTube videos about bipolar ionization and alkaline water. And we looked into this stuff. Both can have positive health effects, but pollen particles, frankly, are too big for ionizers, and scientists, well, there's still not exactly a consensus. They're not sure how that fancy water affects the immune system. Now, I could do this stuff all day, go through all the lists and the emails, but let's go a bit further. Let's go in depth. Beyond the tissues and eye drops, how does one big record-smashing pollen count fit into the bigger picture? A professor at NC State told me, well, we need to analyze the entire pollen season and the environment, not by looking at individual days or events, but by identifying trends.
And I've been following pine pollen production now for gosh, almost maybe 8 to 10 years. This year we started around March 11th, starting to see the production of pine pollen. Last year, it was around February 27th. The year before that, it was around March 6th. The year before that, March 24th. So it's been happening earlier.
That is Professor Barden, and his colleagues at NC State wrote about this last year, saying compared with 30 years ago, pollen production has extended by about a month, starting 20 days earlier and ending 10 days later. They go on to say scientists estimate pollen production of some plant species could increase by 250% over the next 60 to 80 years. But there's really more to consider here with longer and earlier seasons than just your stockpile of Claritin D. Think about this. Are Easter lilies still Easter lilies when they bloom in mid-February? What about the Lenten roses? Can they keep those names when they're popping up in January? What about Punxsutawney Phil? You know that guy. He could be out of a job. Really, Phil? 6 more weeks of winter? Your eyes are so itchy with pollen in February. You won't even be able to see anything, let alone your shadow. An earlier spring will have widespread effects.
We're seeing changes in species. Species are migrating further north than they used to. Also, that comes along with these type of seasons is, pest problems. We have exotic and invasive pests that can be cause trouble for us and everything.
Yeah, you remember this little guy, right? That's the spotted lanternfly, kind of small, kind of pretty, a total menace. These flies are an invasive species with really powerful damage that they can do to 70 different kinds of plants, including wine grapes and hops. That's right, those suckers are out to ruin our agriculture and our adult beverages. They've been reported to be seen several different spots around North Carolina, and a longer growing season opens the door for them to spread even more. And it's not just invasive species like that one. We're talking tried and true, timeless, classic pests that stand to benefit from this. The roaches, the ants, the other creepy crawlies that come into your house. The USDA says a longer growing season means insects have more of a chance to reproduce, adding more of them to the environment, and then possibly even a greater chance that they will develop more resistance to the insecticides we use to keep them away. But it's important to mention, on top of that, the insect populations on a whole have actually been declining. The total mass of insects is falling by about 2% a year. And this is where you're saying, Dan, wait a minute. So wait, warmer seasons, a warmer climate, longer seasons, is that helping insects? Are there more of them or hurting them, or are there less of them? You see, with climate and climate change, it isn't really a one-size-fits-all thing. No single factoid, no single event or pollen count alone can define exactly what climate change means. We have to take these things together. We have to step back. We have to look at the bigger picture. Climate change can mean record cold and record heat. It can boost the population of one species and then devastate another. The bottom line is climate change means change. It throws things off. It throws off the balance, not unlike chugging a beer then smoking a cigarette with a face full of pollen. Your feedback drives this segment. Tell me what you think about this topic and anything else that we should be covering. Send me an email, dan@WRAL.com, and we'll go in depth.